Welcome to How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am Lainey Cavazos, retreat strategist and host of the show for coaches, entrepreneurs, and transformational leaders who want to design retreats that actually make money. If you've ever put your heart into a retreat only to walk away exhausted or worse, broke, you are not alone. This podcast is here to change that. Each week, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and expert insights to help you create meaningful, transformational retreats that also support your business, your lifestyle, and your bottom line. Let's make your next retreat not just powerful, but profitable. Hello, welcome back to another podcast episode of How to Run Profitable Retreats. I'm your host, Lainey Cavazos, and I'm so excited to have with me today Liesel Albrecht. And she is the founder of Ultimate Girls Week Away. She is the retreat specialist and the 9-layered retreat design, right? She has over 34 years experience. She designs and leads retreats that create meaningful, transformative experiences for women. Her work focuses on intentional spaces where participants can slow down, reconnect, and grow. And she has guided over thousands of women. And Liesel helps understand what makes a retreat truly impactful. And she now helps facilitators bring their own retreats to life with clarity and confidence. And at the heart of her work is a belief that when women gather with purpose and support, the experience creates lasting change beyond the retreat itself. Liesel, thank you so much for being here today.
I'm excited to see what unfolds from our conversation.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to tell everyone that Liesel and I, we have known each other for quite a couple of years, but last year we actually met in person. And it was at the Liesel Retreat Summit in San Diego.
It was. And it's always exciting when we meet people online and we have conversations and then to meet in person and to be like, oh, yeah, they're exactly how I thought they'd be, or yeah, no, they're not.
I love that. Yes. And I am very excited to tell that she is coming back and she's going to be speaking at the Liesel Retreat Summit that this year is taking place in Mexico, my home country. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you're flying all the way from Australia to speak to all these women that are eager to host retreats or hosting retreats, and they just want to do it better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Liesel, tell me a little bit about how did you end up in this space? Because you've been in this space for so many years.
Long time, like 34 years now. So I was always that girl that was in Girl Guides and youth groups and organizing things. And I really loved how it felt when everybody was together. And then as I got in my 20s, I actually moved from Melbourne, so big city, to a town called Hour, which had 102 people living there. And it was like a huge culture shock to start with. But what I saw was if in that area, if people were not in sport or not doing horse riding, there was nothing to do. So I kind of formed this group that was about leadership and about expansion and stepping into what you want to do. And then I was suddenly running these 7-day all-inclusive retreats. We didn't call them retreats because retreats were like yoga and vegetarian food back in the 90s, and it's really evolved from there. And I really love that space and that magic when people come together and those deep conversations that happened, those conversations about life and sharing things that they often didn't share with the people in their average circles. So it's really expanded from there. I was a social worker by profession. And then I had long service leave where I went away for 3 months, and I realized that I was really struggling to go back to social work. I was working with really difficult families and young people, and I was exhausted from that. So I thought, what am I going to do? And my now husband said, why don't you run your retreats full time? And I went, of course, that's the solution. And so did that, had this vision that I was going to run a retreat every year, every month in Bali, which is only 5 hours flight from here. And I realized very quickly that that was not sustainable for me to be 2 weeks here and 2 weeks away. And so really started looking at, okay, how can I build this business and expand it so it is sustainable and makes me a great income, but I also get to travel. And here we are.
I love what you just said that, and I think a lot of people who are listening to this will resonate, right? You're like your idea at the beginning was like one retreat per month, but you realized very quickly that that was not
Yeah.
enough. That was not where you're supposed to be, and that was not in your best interest, and probably not in the best interest of your clients as well,
Yeah. All my family.
or your family, right? Yes. So I think this is such an important topic that you're just talking about right now, because so many times when we're thinking about running our retreats like a business, we're not really, really, truly running them like a business, right?
I agree.
And it's one of the biggest things that I see happen in this industry. And I'll just tell you all a little bit of, I had this conversation today with one of my private clients. And I mean, he's doing great with his retreats, right? Like the shifts that have happened since we started working together are massive. And he told me something of like, it was like the best kind of like compliment in the world. He is doing a partnership for a retreat with another person. And they had this whole long week meeting in person to plan the retreat and put all the details together. And the guy looked at him and he said, well, you're really running it like a business. Right.
Yeah.
And he was thinking, well, isn't that the way everyone does it? But it's not.
No,
We assume.
it's really not.
We assume, right? Because you have a business, you're an entrepreneur, you have a business, or you're selling your own basically products or services,
Mm.
that you're running your business like a business. And most of the times that is not true.
Yeah. Yeah. And often I see retreat facilitators, or I call them retreat designers, because I think we're designing a transformational and a learning experience most of the time. I see them coming in going, oh, I'm just scraping through, I'm barely paying my bills, I'm barely making a profit. And 100%. Some people run retreats just to do their craft for a weekend. But if you are running them seriously, you need to have a business strategy where you are making money, you are growing, you are expanding, and all of those things to move forward and to be noticed in a very busy space.
Yeah. And I think also it has to do a lot with doing it your way, right? So for some
Yeah,
people, going once a month to Bali could work. I mean, I'm gonna say
100%.
that's the minority. But for some people it could work, right? Yeah. But that does
Yeah,
not mean that you need to do it because someone else is.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I think you've got to find your space in the noise and your space of within your community and finding who your people are, which, that age-old thing of knowing who your people are that are going to come on your retreat is so vital because you're building that community. And when you've got that community, retreat spaces feel so much easier than
Mhm.
when you don't. I often have people that I work with that just starting their business, they don't have a community, and they want to run a retreat straight away. And it's just the rare few may be able to do that, but the minority won't because they have no proven track record in what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is definitely ways on how like to start that like differently and not have a massive community, but it requires a certain type of person.
Yes, yes, definitely.
I mean, it's not impossible. I have a lot of clients that, I mean, they were not in the retreat space, they were jumping in, but they were experts in what they did, right? Like they were great
And
at what they
that's
did.
it because they've got that community within that. But I see people often coming straight into, oh, I'm going to run a business, not necessarily known for what they do. And then they're like, oh, I want 30 people at my retreat. I'm like, let's step back a bit here.
Yeah, I think this is it's such an interesting piece to talk about because also when you're an expert in your field and you know what you're doing, then that backs you up, right? That gives you the
Yes,
support.
100%,
But one of the things
100%.
one of the things that I usually see a lot with people in the transformational space is they might have an expertise and they might be great at something and they leave their jobs and they want to burn it all. They're
Yep,
like, oh, I was an HR professional. And they're like, I don't want to have anything to do with HR or I don't want to have, right? So they're burning all the bridges to their path.
yep,
So basically, they want to start from scratch when they forget that the magic is the path that they already walked.
100%, 100%. Yeah, yep.
So, Lisa, tell me
We
a little bit
need
about,
to,
yeah,
sorry, you go.
I was going to say, tell me a little bit about what you're going to be talking at the Seller Retreat Summit.
Well, I have changed what I'm going to talk about 77 times because I think, there's so much value by being in the room at the summit. So I'm going to talk about my 9 layers of retreat design. And that's come from being in the industry, running things since I was 16 and I'm 55 now, where I have built it into a framework that it's easy for people to be like, okay, these are the bits of this part. So the first layer is the soul layer of why you want to run a retreat, what your story is, what your foundations are, those things, right through to the legacy layer of what people are walking away with and what that ripple effect of what you're doing. So I'm really excited to be exploring those 9 layers with everybody and getting them to think about how do they work through that framework? What do they see that is valuable for their people? What are those bits that they're maybe missing? Do they think about the ripple effect of their retreats? Do they think about how their story influences what they're doing on retreat? So, yeah, I'm really excited to be in the room with everybody. Last year in San Diego was amazing, and the connections and the networking that happened, like, I can't wait. It's going to be great.
I mean, you're flying back all the way from Australia again. It must have been great.
I am.
For,
I
for
know, right?
right.
I think it's a 15-hour flight to LA and then however long from LA to Mexico City.
Oh, 3 hours, not far. Once you're in,
Okay, that's not
yeah.
long.
I'm gonna say for everyone who's wondering about, oh well, if it's Mexico too far, I have to tell you that I was just in Florida and it was a 3 hour flight. To go to LA is 3 hours. And if I went from Florida to LA that I've done in the past, it's 6 hours.
Yeah, yeah,
So Mexico is
exactly.
closer to many parts than if you had to travel across the country in the US to come to this event. And that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why we wanted to host it this year in Mexico. Also, because we're doing it in a
Mm.
hotel that is a retreat center. So what
Yeah,
happens there is you're going to be fully immersed into how it's supposed to feel to be at a retreat.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I what I love about running, retreat masterclasses and coming to, summits like this is that you get to feel that retreat energy without being at something that is a retreat. It's kind of I believe it's that next step up for retreat leaders and retreat designers who want to run retreats or they're expanding their business into retreats, being in the room with that energy, there's no real words to describe it because suddenly you're with like-minded people, you get to network, you might find your next bestie retreat designer who you then run 50 retreats with. I know I've got some of my team going to be in the room, and those in-person hugs are invaluable to me.
Yeah, I have to say that you're so true. Like I love meeting like my clients in events and whatnot. And we were at an event this past weekend in Florida. And I knew one of my clients was nearby, but I was just so busy. I didn't text her or anything because I didn't have time in between. We were running
Yeah,
events and socials and all these things. And then I walk into the room and I see her. And we were running towards each other. We're like, what are you doing here? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Just this like wonderful
I do.
experience. And we were able to connect in just the most beautiful way. Um, and she was telling me where she was adding to her business. And, she was telling me, oh my gosh, Lainey, I have to tell you, that you're the only coach I hired privately that actually made me so much money in return for what I paid you. And I was like,
Yeah, love
oh.
that.
So,
Love that so
bring
much.
your friends to Mexico, right? Bring your other retreat leaders, bring your potential clients. This room is perfect for all of you women who
Yep.
wanna and are hosting retreats and you really want to treat it like a business.
Yeah, agree. And that expansion and growth is, you can't describe what that means. Like you can make copy for your website, but being in person where you can, like someone says something and you feel your heart expand. Last year at in San Diego, I had a woman that I'm still connected with now who said to me, I want to be doing what you're doing in 5 years. Like I'm going to be like you. And I thought, oh gosh, that's the biggest compliment because we want people to be running best practice retreats that, are making money, that are expanding their business, that are getting more clients, that are taking their people on the journey that they want to take them on. And I can't say enough. Come to Mexico, come and be in the room with us because it's going to be, amazing. And San Diego happened because I had a conversation with Abby and said, I'm coming to the US, let's do something. And it just all evolved and grew from there. So I'm super excited to be involved this year and to be at summit number 2.
Yes. So for everyone who's listening, go buy your ticket right now.
Yeah.
There is a special
Yeah.
price right now happening that will not be there very, very soon. So go get your ticket. Join us in Mexico. Join us in Mexico. It will change the way you look at your business, the way you communicate and connect with other women. This
Great.
is your best opportunity because there's not so many retreat experiences out there for people like you. There's other conferences for other topics, but there's no other conference that really is created for women who run retreats. The
Agree.
only one.
Yeah. I agree. And it's again that magic and that power of being in the room with people is definitely worth the 3 hours flight from wherever you are, or for me, much longer, but it's worth it.
Yes. I mean, so everyone who wants it, you can find the link to buy your ticket on the show notes. And Liesel, tell me, if someone wants to connect with you, what is the best way for them to find you?
Yeah, so the best way is through email. That's the way I will find people, or people will find me. The other option is, just find me on socials and message me and I'll check that. But email is definitely the best way.
Perfect. Well, Liesel, thank you so much for being here. And for everyone
Thank
who's
you.
listening, let's meet in Mexico.
See
We
you
can't wait
there.
to see you there. And we'll see you all next week with another episode of How to Run Profitable Retreats.